What sort of job do you want? I suppose it depends on your idea of what's important. Money, security, or perhaps excitement and a challenge, status, perhaps travel and meeting people. Or you might be concerned with how useful your job is to society. The list of things we can get from a job is certainly a long one. But just as certain is that many of us end up in jobs that are boring. We start our jobs with a sense of excitement and optimism. But before long, it all seems like a big mistake. So it's important, I think, to do some serious thinking about what we want out of a job before we leave school and before we start making job applications. In this program, we meet a group of people who have made their choice. Sure enough, it's a choice that few of us would ever make, partly because there are few jobs like this available. But in telling his or her own story, each person challenges us all to think about what's important to us and what stops us from being more daring in our choice of job.
Soul Brothers originally...
Our reporter, Neil Barrett, met up with Soul Brothers Circus in central Victoria recently and spent a fascinating few days talking to the people who make the circus tick and watching them at work.
How did you get involved with the circus in the first place? Are you from circus families?
I'm one of those exceptions. I'm not from a circus family, but I was one of those kids who always wanted to be with the circus. Ever since I was 6 years old, I wanted to be a lion trainer first of all, and then high wire took over soon after that. I just wanted to walk the high wire. I can't say exactly why, but I did circuses in the backyard. I was a magician, of pretty good renown around the Dayton, Ohio area. During high school, I worked weekends with a local circus producer. I went anywhere up to 300 miles from home, just about every weekend, to make fairy floss and set up the circus and rig up in the ceiling, up, you know, the trapeze acts and things up in the roof. Just anything to be around.
And were your parents supportive of you being involved with circuses?
Well, at first they thought it was kind of a passing fancy, although they did see it kind of happening all my life. But they didn't exactly discourage me, but at the same time, my mother still hoped I would have been a dentist, I think.
What about you, Pam?
I had always wanted to travel and always knew that I would travel. And I was working at a 4-H camp after I got out of high school. And his brother, who I'd known since second grade, which is 7 years old, also worked there at the camp. And when the circus came to town, he said, "Oh, let's go see my brother in the circus." And I didn't at that point because I had better things to do. And then I had another opportunity to go to see the circus. I guess it was just destiny, no matter how hard I tried to avoid it. And we met and got along, and I traveled with him for a while to see if I'd like it. And then I went home and told my parents I was indeed going off to join the circus. And my father piped up, "What are you going to be, the fat lady in the sideshow? Go to your room." So I went to my room and basically climbed out the window and ran off to join my lover at the circus, my honey-to-be.
And how long ago was that?
That was 7 years ago.
And what does it feel like to be up on the wire?
Well, Carl Wallenda, who was a famous wire walker, said that my life is on the wire, everything else is just waiting, and that's kind of sums it up. That's what it's all about, that 8 minutes in the ring, and everything else is sort of just preparing for that, getting ready for that, or waiting for your time in the spotlight.
Soul Brothers originally my mother's brothers, and actually I'm the last of the Soul Brothers left now.
Right. How long have you been working with animals?
About 25 years.
Right. And with lions?
Only about 8 years. Anyone that goes into a lion's cage and said they're not scared, they're a fool, but because anything can happen there, you know. You might get a lioness. One day it's all right, the next day it's in a cranky mood and you can get eaten.
But you don't look worried when you're in there, you're smiling and all?
I'm not supposed to look worried, I'm supposed to entertain people. I don't know, last year I had a lioness get out at Tamworth in New South Wales. And it took about 8 hours to get in. The worst part about it was the public and actually the police that caused all the problems. They had guns all over the place and it makes it a bit hard when you're about 6 foot from a lion trying to fight it off and get it back into a cage, and they've got shotguns and that pointed at you. You get very nervous. They could have got hurt because when she first got out, she attacked a pony and tore its neck out. And she's never been out of a cage in her life, so old saying, you can take the lion out of the jungle, but you can't take the jungle out of the lion.
And your father was it your father or your mother was a circus performer?
Actually, my parents and family don't go back in generations like Gilbert's great-grandfather was in circus. My father was a gymnasium, he had a gymnasium. So the rest of my uncles and things are architects and what have you, and so they think we're crazy. And we've got to run because we're on next.
Okay, thanks for talking to us. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Will you still be here after the show? Are you going to take the pull down or what?
Yeah,
Okay,
take
let's,
care, I've got to go. Well, I've been doing it ever since I was 6 years of age, so I'm not really so terrified of the height. I really enjoy what I do, but sometimes it gets a bit monotonous, I guess, doing the same routines again, so that's why we try to improve them all the time.
And there are times when you feel a bit nervous about it, a bit frightened?
I'm more frightened of the gear, of the accidents that can occur with the gear than my own ability, because I'm strong and I've perfected what I do on the ground before I go above 4 feet high.
Sure. And Gilbert, you play you play a significant role on the ground. What sort of things do you do?
I used to do a swing act. I came from Europe, and then I started to meet Ella, and then we did get married, and then I started to do the perch act with her. She can carry me, then I have to carry her. So.
That's the silver circle. He's the bearer. He holds the pole on his shoulder and balances it. So we don't have many arguments before we work.
And have you always been a circus performer?
You mean before?
Yeah, in China. Were you a circus performer?
Yes, I am.
And what did your parents think of, did they want that life for you, did they?
Yes, my mom, she really loved I do this acrobat. So she's happy.
What age were you when you started doing it?
Doing 9.
And how did you come to join up with Soul Brothers Circus then?
I met the circus in Sydney, so, and I liked the circus, and then I just started. When I was in China, is my teacher, and he's really old. I think he's 62, something like that. And he teach me this act, and he's a very good teacher, and do a lot of practice too.
How much practice?
Then every day we practice 8 hours in the day. In the morning 4 hours and afternoon 4 hours. It's like school, special school, so just practice every day.
And what about I think it's your final act with the flowers? Is that something that your teacher has taught you too? And how does it feel doing that act?
First time when I do that, when I put this something on my mouth, so and I can't stay for a second, you know. And after my teacher said, it's no problem, just try every day. And after I just can't do that.
How long have you been with the circus, Tex?
I've been with the circus for nearly 5 years now, coming up 6.
What did you do before that?
I've done nearly everything else in my life. I was an interstate truckie for 23 years, and this challenge came up, and I accepted the challenge.
And you certainly work hard, don't you? I mean, during the act there, people are, you can hear people around you saying, gee, they're working really hard. That's something you've got to do to stay in the job?
Well, they are, as the boss puts it, a fast game's a good game, right? So if we can keep the staff rolling and moving pretty fast inside, we're getting a good show and a quick show, and the people are getting what they paid for. Like there's no stall in between acts. It's something that you've got to keep going at.
And what are the high spots for it, of the circus for you? What do you really like about it?
Oh, I like the travel. I like meeting people. I like seeing smiling faces. I like the security of change, I call it. If you don't like it, don't worry, it'll change. If you do like it, it'll be back around. So there's, it's just the variety, I think, the spice of life.
Yeah. What about you, Ron?
Well, it certainly has its low points. The high points are, like she said, you have to like traveling, and you have to like the lifestyle, or you could go crazy real fast. It's not easy. You may have to drive 300 miles in the middle of the night when everybody else is tucked in their beds. You miss a lot of things that you would get at home, you know, a lot of classes you'd like to take or television shows you'd like to see. Instead, you're doing a show every night and usually matinees every afternoon. You have to set up and perform in the worst weather conditions sometimes.
What's been happening to you just lately? The last few days haven't been so good, have they?
No, I'm afraid I pulled a muscle in my back and I'm kind of walking around like a 90-year-old man. But there's that tradition that the show must go on. I've worked with broken collarbone, a broken ankle. At one point, I walked out to the wire on crutches, put the crutches on the ground, got up and did the act. But very gingerly, yes.
People often define their work in terms of hard and easy. How would you define yours, Ben?
Oh, I think it's real tough, but
Why is it tough? Why is it tough?
Oh, sometimes you feel like there is a God and he doesn't like you after you've performed in cold weather so long that your feet are numb by the time you get to the wire, or you're juggling and it hurts every time the clubs hit your hands, and you just wish that you could call in sick or something. I mean, you don't have the conveniences of a normal job. But like I said, I enjoyed the challenge. If it was easy, I don't think I'd bother. I get bored too easy.
Right.
People see us in the ring and they think, oh, well, you only work 8 minutes a day, so what's so tough about that? But of course, the big part is driving 300 miles or setting up in the rain and the mud, and there's a lot more to it. Yeah, you spend an hour just getting into makeup, getting dressed, changing clothes 20 times a day. Practice, of course, we've put in hours and hours of just learning that 8 minutes, you know. So it's not easy, but it's still what we choose to do. I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing, that's for sure.
I enjoy it, but wet weather and everything like that, and it's hard to get staff and that and workers these days, and the travelling costs and that, it's getting harder every year to keep going.
It's not the sort of thing that a lot of people in Australia would find easy to do, is it really?
Oh, no, it's a different style of life. You've got to accept it as a challenge, and you've got to live like gypsies, like that's what I call us, a gypsy. And like you're working hard, long hours, and you're on the rail all the time, but I'm still interstate as a truckie again.
How many hours a week would you work?
Well, that'd be hard to say, because I reckon that out of the 24 hours, I'd say you'd be going 16 to 18 hours a day.
Do you call the circus a community, or is it just a collection of individuals and couples like most work situations are?
Well, I think it's like a traveling neighborhood. You've always got the same neighbors, so you're well acquainted with the people. And also because you're in a work-living relationship, it's almost like a family. A lot of the members change from the tent crew and the casuals that are hired. But when you sign on at the beginning of the year, you know that all the artists will basically stay the same because you're under a contract. So you do make friends and you gain relationships and you get confidence between yourselves and the other people to either talk about things or to go out and have a good time. So it's like a traveling neighborhood. Different place, but same neighbors.
What about the role of women in the circus? It probably hasn't changed for a long time, has it? The women are pretty and they're tizzed up and they've got beautiful bodies and they show a lot.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind. You're so kind.
A woman actively involved in women's liberation mightn't be too happy when she came along to...
Well, I think a woman actively involved in women's liberation and just decided that it was all wrong really isn't very active if they don't check into it, because we're all glamour and tiz, as you say, for the show, but it's the balance. You've got the macho, talented men, and you've got the pretty little dainty ladies. But when it comes to tearing down the rigging or driving or knowing how to hook up a caravan or knowing how to get power and water, you know, I do all that. I don't do it always because, you know, I sew on the costumes. We do have a general your job, my job, which any relationship does have to do, but I'm sure, in fact, I've gotten into it with feminists as far as the the glamour or whatever, and why do you bother, and it's offensive to paint yourself up just to be attractive to men. But it's not just to be attractive to men. I mean, the little kids get such a kick out of seeing the storybook character come out, and that's what it is. It's a storybook character, and if you go out there underneath all those harsh lights, which they need for the lighting of the show, you look like some kind of ill something or other. So you need the makeup to enhance and to just really make it the storybook character that it is. Because theoretically, when somebody comes to the circus, they should be able to find something that they were expecting. And it's kind of your job to give each and every person that comes through that door a little piece of their fantasy.
And what's it like with a very young child doing an act like this, like if you have a sleepless night and all?
I think it must be difficult for anybody, but I suppose in our field of work it's more so because when you are tired, your concentration's not there, but it's just something you've got to adapt to. Because, I mean, what else can you do?
Yeah.
And she's worth every minute of it, I tell you. Yes.
And you're a second-generation circus woman. Is Jessica going to be a third generation, do you think?
Most children in the circus just seem to like the atmosphere of it and they don't go away from it, but she'll have a good education and she can decide herself.
Yeah.
I hope she stays with us, but if she's got the option, I'll give her an education and then she can decide what she wants to do.
What about your future? Would you like to be doing this for the rest of your life?
I think, I first came here, I don't know about Australia show business, so it's good I stay in circus for a year and I know something. And I think next year I'm looking for club show or something like that. And it's good in circus, but not forever.
What would you be like to be doing when you're, say, 25 or 30?
I think I will looking for one husband married to.
And you want to have children, huh?
Yeah.
And you could spend the rest of your life here?
Well, I hope to. That's if I'm allowed to.
If the boss keeps liking your work, eh?
Well, that's the point. He's got to keep liking me, I've got to keep liking him.
What happens when a tent-hand retires? What does he do?
Well, that's something I can't say, because I haven't seen boys come and go. And that's it.
And right now we're making better money than most people our age are making, because we're willing to put up with the hardships. So we have a nice little bank account that's growing a bit every year, and we'll buy property one day, although we still choose to live on the road. One of our best friends back home is a wire walker who's 65, 70 years old now, I'm not sure. And he still works as hard as ever. He's just as healthy, and he does a great act.
And he still enjoys it. I think, I think that really counts for a lot, because there's a lot of people out there that are going to work and they're suffering through this 8 hours or 6 hours or whatever it is a day just to get their security when they're old. And I've seen that many people, they've saved all their money and they're waiting till they're old so they can enjoy it, and then suddenly they're old and they can't enjoy it because their health's gone or something else. And I think it's really important to go and do what you enjoy when you can do it. And I think that really helps, So what if you don't have a retirement fund, Who needs to travel when you're 65 after you've been all over the world? I want to sit in a rocking chair and just knit or something really mellow.
All our money is saving to buy Pam a rocking chair.
Personally, I've no particular desire to be a lion tamer, or a high wire walker, or even a Chinese dancer. You probably haven't either. But all of the people we've met are doing jobs that interest and excite them. And I'm sure there's a lesson in that for all of us. Some have made the choice themselves. Ron, Pam, Ella and Tex certainly did. Others like Lindsay, Gilbert and perhaps Lida were born into it. But however they came to be in the circus, they all enjoy the life. None of them would choose a 9-to-5 existence with all its routine and predictability. Admittedly, in these days of high unemployment, some of us have little choice. We've got to take the first job that comes up. But many of us are able to hold out for a job that really means something to us. A job that really turns us on rather than off. So when I think about it, I suppose I'd rather be a lion tamer than someone who's bored witless in a safe, comfortable office or factory. What about you?